So I'm here during trauma release because I just had an altercation with a man who verbally abuses his employees. So I'm just shaking it off. But basically, so I'm just going to be shaking while I share this. But basically, where I live on a farm, I've been living here for about 5 months in a cottage, and after 2 months after living here, I realized that the farm owner was verbally abusing his employees, black employees, right? He's white, British descent. And I wrote an email toward the end of the year and to him and his wife, and he basically just stopped speaking to me. He just cold-shouldered me after that email, just saying that I knew this was going on and I'm a therapist and that I can actually assist him to overcome this problem. Then nothing was said, and then he had to come and fix my plumbing because something was going on there, and he told me that sometimes the farm workers have tried to rob him. And I said, sure, it must be hard to work with people who betray you, and that was that. And I think in his mind he thought that I was like, okay, you're justified, you know, I don't know what he thought. But then on Monday, the person who cleans their house, their domestic worker, she works for me as well, a couple days a week. And she arrived at my home, shaking, trembling, flooding, having a literal trauma response, because where he picked her up on the main road to come to the farm, he was just shouting at her in front of everyone at the taxi rank, all the way in the car, just shouting and shouting at her. And bear in mind that she's just come from the funeral of her sister. Okay, so she's a mother of 4, and she's just taken on her sister's 3 children. Okay, she's just come from a funeral, and this is this man. Whether she had come from a funeral or not doesn't matter, but I'm saying this is some extra detail. I say, why was he shouting at you? No, because I got the time wrong. I told his wife that he could pick me up, but she didn't tell him. So he was upset that there was a misunderstanding, and like he had basically a miscommunication. Sorry, I feel like something's in my tooth. And had to come fetch me when he hadn't planned for it. So because of miscommunication, a mistake, he verbally abused her, and she arrived in my home literally having a breakdown. So I spent time with her and prayed with her and things like that. And then this morning I went to speak to him. As I started speaking to him about what had happened to her on Monday, don't talk to me about this. This has nothing to do with you. It's like, it does have something to do with me because I'm a trauma therapist and I support victims every day of my life. That's what I do. And people here are being victimized, and you victimized this woman who is my friend and works for me. No, she was in the wrong. She was in the wrong. I was like, okay, so because your wife didn't tell you about, my wife, it had nothing to do with my wife, she should have messaged me about the time I must pick her up. And I was like, okay, so because there was a miscommunication of when to fetch this woman, you think that gives you the right to verbally abuse her because of a mistake. Miscommunication happens every day. Mistakes happen all the time. That does not give you the right to verbally abuse somebody. Because that's what he does. When his workers make mistakes, he goes mental at them. Also saying very racist things like, what's wrong with your nation? You know, talking about the Zulu people. And yeah, he was like, I started talking to her, and then she didn't reply to me, so I had to keep talking to her because she didn't say anything. I'm like, yeah, because she was in a state of freeze. She was terrified, and she was having a nervous system response because you were abusing her. And I was like, listen, I know I'm a psychologist, and I know that you're in pain. Okay, you're clearly in a lot of pain. Don't try and psychoanalyze me and think you're a psychologist. I'm like, you don't even have to be a psychologist to psychoanalyze you. It's as plain as day. As plain as day. Don't talk to me about this. I was in the right. Wouldn't listen. Wouldn't hear it. Right? Because dealing with completely shut down person. A demiurgic person. Right? Complete ignorance. And then he was like, don't come here again, because I had walked up their driveway to where their house is. Don't ever come here again. Don't you come near my house. And I was like, yeah, but your issues infiltrating my house. I hear you verbally abusing people all around me. It's spilling into my house. Your victims are coming into my house having nervous breakdowns. And then he just sort of buggered off, walked away. So that's been my day. I just wanted to share that with everyone. Yeah. And I know I can move. I'm sort of looking for another place. But I also feel somewhat like a responsible or like a guardian for the workers here. Anyway. It's so crazy, like dealing with, that's like a Zionistic mind, hey? Like a Zionistic mind, like you're an abuser, but in his mind, he has justified. He thinks he's justified to do the violence, the verbal violence that he does. Because he's like, no, it wasn't a mistake. She did it on purpose. Like he thinks that he's the victim and what he's doing is justified. Like he can't even remotely see. He can't even see. It's like pure demiurge. It's wow.